love the dance section.
My name is Gail DeWitt, and welcome to Conscious Contact. Today we're going to talk about healing and music, as Conscious Contact is about wholeness and reclaiming wholeness and expressing even greater wholeness, and we know that creativity is a part of that. So I have a guest today that exemplifies givingness and wholeness, and so I want to welcome Christopher Barran. Hi, Chris.
Hi.
And I just want to welcome Christopher to the show. I wanted Chris to come on the show because he's a great musician and a songwriter, and because I was very moved by the work that you do. So let's just start talking about you a little bit. Like, Chris, how did you become a musician? Like you mentioned very briefly, you're self-trained on the guitar. Say a little bit about your background, like, you know, where you're from and...
Yeah, well, I was actually born in British Guyana in South America, and then became a Canadian citizen when I was 9 years old. And I was actually very into downhill ski racing, and I had all these aspirations to win a gold medal in the Olympics. And I had a terrible accident. I hit a tree in a training run and broke my pelvis in 4 places and dislocated my hips and lost over half my blood supply and wasn't expected to live in the accident. And so my skiing career ended at that point, and a friend of mine asked me to come out to watch his band play. I came out there and he handed me a microphone. And I'm like, what do you want me to do with this? And he said, well, we don't have a singer, we need a singer. And I had no musical background. I didn't even really listen to music. I never played an instrument. And so just to get off my back, I sung a little bit, and then the next thing was, it was my whole career and everything I was going for. So the ski accident was a great blessing because that ended that part of my life and allowed me to start doing my music, which is the most fulfilling, amazing work that I could ever do.
So you trained yourself on your guitar?
Yeah, yeah.
So you sang and then you learned guitar?
I did. I always had these flaky guitar players that wouldn't show up for rehearsals or whatever, so I thought, well, I better learn a little bit so I can write a little bit on it. And then the next thing was, well, if I can just accompany myself a bit when I play. And then now I feel like I sing better with the guitar than without it when I'm playing.
Interesting.
So yeah, it's very self-taught, and I just kind of feel a lot of things and where to go to with my fingers and stuff.
So you were 9 years old, you got to Canada. Your friends tricked you into becoming a singer.
Yep.
Okay.
I heard a quote once that said there are 2 types of singers, those who choose to be singers and those that singing chose them.
You got chose by it, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Okay, so tell us about how you got here. I mean, so you move around a lot, and we're going to talk about that in depth, but how did you get to here? Like,
down the 10 freeway and then off on.
That's one way. Well, how do you go from, like Ghana to Canada to U.S.? Is it following your music?
Yeah, well, I moved here in 1994 to go to music school. So I went to Musicians Institute in Hollywood and graduated from there. And then I was playing and recording in Los Angeles and stuff. And then I went back to Canada and got involved with some nonprofit societies. And then...
Why did you pick nonprofit societies?
Again, I guess they kind of picked me.
Okay, okay.
I went to the Philippines the first time, and I was doing a lot of playing at 5-star hotels and colleges, universities, and stuff like that. And then it was my first introduction to an amazing amount of poverty that I saw there that I hadn't been exposed to. And there's, of course, the culture shock and all that kind of stuff. And then I ended up having my guitar with me, and I started playing in some of those environments, and I just started to see how healing and uplifting it was for myself and for the people that were listening, and it started to become a beautiful experience. And then from the Philippines I went back to Canada and then was involved with different organizations, and then they would take me to the countries and set me up tours. So I'd be playing at the college universities, and then orphanages that Mother Teresa set up, and blind schools, and
so when you went back to Canada and you joined organizations that would, what kind of organization, give it an example, what kind of organization does that? Would take you to another country?
Well, a lot of different ones will do that. Like, we would go out and do some fundraising, and I would go to like Walmart and Staples, and they would be very generous, and they would donate all this stuff. So I'd fill up a hockey bag, this mass bag full of all, soccer balls and pencils and pens and medical supplies. And then we would, I'd con the people at the airlines, like, not to charge me for that extra because it was going for the kids, and they'd always do that, and then we would go and distribute the supplies. So sometimes there were like 10, 14 of us, and everyone would be bringing supplies with them as well. Okay. So they would organize all of the trip, and yeah.
It's almost kind of like a ministry I know called Global Works. that it's very much kind of the work that they do in terms of bringing medical supplies or things for support to other countries. It's so, okay. Because I was wondering, like, how does this guy get to all these different countries and do all these different things?
Again, it's strange. I just seem to be in the right place at the right time and meet someone from an organization that, you know, that's heard my music or bought my CD, that's really excited about it, and then organizes the trip and we go. Yeah, I've been really blessed that way.
Is your background faith-based? Were you raised in a faith?
I was raised in Catholicism, went to Catholic schools and stuff like that. And as a result of that, I guess I kind of completely went away from religion and spirituality, and I wasn't even sure what I thought. I had a lot of problem with some of the issues with that whole thing, and then after that, I guess I just kind of. I guess when it was when I was overseas in those countries that I started to see the faith of a lot of these people and how they had nothing materially, and they would always say how blessed they were and be showing you pictures of their children, and they would always be praying and be, you know, and I started, I guess, just to reconnect with my faith through them. And then looking back on my song lyrics I had written, they were very spiritual and very inspirational lyrics at times when I didn't even know that I believed in God or in anything, which was strange. You know, somehow I didn't realize that at the time. Somehow it would
your focus wasn't on a religion or any kind of philosophy. It seems like it was on beauty or just a recognition of how you were viewing life in front of you, and you were speaking to that, not realizing that it's only one thing going on, so it always fits someplace else. You know what I mean?
No matter what name you call it, you know, there's one higher power.
So let's start to talk about some of the countries that you've been in, because I went to your website, and when I saw the pictures, I was really moved by them. Can you the other thing I was really moved by was hearing how you started to do the work that you do. Can you tell us about what the first thing that you started gave you a mission and a feeling for your music and doing what you do with it?
You know, when I was doing music before, I recorded my first record at 21 and almost signed a big recording contract that, you know, where they're promising us Ferraris if the record hit platinum and stuff like that. And that was a big part of my motivation. I wanted to be the big rock star and tour all over the world and, you know, make lots of money and have my mansions all over. And, you know, and why not, you know, and there's nothing wrong with that, you know, having that kind of abundance while you're here. So I ended up going on this trip to India, and I was in an orphanage where all the kids had polio. And about 6 kids had been held back from school that day, and they were in a separate room, and we were there seeing what kind of supplies they needed, because we were buying them a hot water tank and a water purifier. And I went into this room, and there were these children just sitting there like just shaking. They were in so much pain, and I was like, oh my God, what happened to them? And they had had surgery that morning where they would put a block of wood in their mouth so they wouldn't bite their tongue off, and they would hold them down and break the bones back because the polio, the atrophy of the muscles, would be forcing the bones to grow the wrong direction, and they couldn't afford anesthesia. So these children had had this procedure this morning, and they, you know, some were just staring into space, some of them had their eyes closed and just shaking, and somebody asked me would I sing them a song, and I said, okay, but it's probably pointless because they're totally non-responsive. So I went in there, and as soon as I hit the first chord, I mean, it was a complete transformation. They woke up, and they actually, some of them sat up in bed with me and started singing along and clapping, and I got down on my knees and sung a verse of Roses Love the Rain, a song that's on my current record, to each little person, and it was just amazing. It was absolutely amazing, and they were happy, and I hugged them all when I left, and I got back in the truck, and on the way back to the hotel I cried the whole way back, and I just was saying, God, you know, if you support me in my music and supply the funding for me to do my CD, I'll continue doing this work and helping. And for the first time, I really saw the healing nature of music.